Recently, there has been a worldwide decline in mental health. The goal of my ISP is to investigate how and why these sudden shifts are occurring in our modern society. As the issue grows, it becomes more important than ever for us to educate ourselves and others. About 1.6 million children and teens in Canada struggle with mental health. In 2020, nearly 30,000 young people were waiting for treatment for a mental health disorder. Most of those patients waited 67 days for counseling and therapy and 92 days for intensive treatment. In Canada, the cost of treating anxiety and depression, two of the most commonly diagnosed mental health disorders, is $4 billion a year. In 2021, 4 out of 10 students reported feeling persistently sad or hopeless, and nearly 29% experienced poor mental health. In 2021, more than 1 in 5 students seriously considered attempting suicide, and 1 in 10 attempted suicide. However, recent developments have also been positive, as almost 25% of Ontario residents report seeking professional mental aid when suffering. In comparison, 2 years prior, only 16% of Ontario residents were seeking mental health aid. Mental health in today's society is now recognized as a much more important issue, as more professionals become available. Since 1970, the amount of psychologists in Canada has almost doubled. These recent stats provide hope for those struggling, demonstrating that there are much more systems in place to help you in your own mental health battle. Many factors can lead to poor mental health. Abuse, trauma, neglect, burnout are all examples. Also, some individuals experience discrimination based on their gender, race, or class. Alcohol and drug use is also something that can lead to poor mental health instead of being used as a coping mechanism, which is often what we hear about. Social media use has become one of the lead causing factors of poor mental health, especially in adolescents. Adolescents who spend more than 3 hours a day on social media face double the risk of mental health problems, including symptoms of depression and anxiety and reduced self-esteem. This becomes a problem as young, impressionable minds begin to feel like they need to compare themselves to others that they see online, who could also be going through things on their own. Delving into the history of mental health, we can find that diagnoses were recognized as early back as the Greeks. It was not until 1883 that German psychiatrist Emil Kraepelin, who died in 1926, published a comprehensive system of psychological disorders that centered around a pattern of symptoms, now called syndromes, suggestive of an underlying physiological cause. Kraepelin laid the grounds for modern psychology, and he was one of the earliest activists for mental health, especially during a time where it was taboo to talk about those topics. As for Canadian specific history, mental health awareness began in Canada in around 1918, the same time the war ended. Canada was entering the Roaring Twenties, which was a celebrative time for the country. However, mental health problems were still present, and they were just starting to be uncovered by the public eye. During the same year, an organization was formed which was called the Canadian National Committee for Mental Hygiene. This name later became the Canadian Mental Health Association that we know today. Both organizations were influential in promoting health issues in both the US and Canada. It was a common belief that the mentally ill were dangerous and should be kept away at the time, which created animosity towards them and made them feel excluded from society. All of this combined, the 1900s were both a scary and innovative time for mental health. Moving forward to our modern society, there are still many people struggling with mental health issues, but now, in 2024, it's much easier to not have to suffer alone. It's not a subject to be spoken about or pushed aside as much anymore. There are many resources available that an individual can reach out to for support and guidance, such as program counseling, agencies, therapists, and crisis hotlines. Even medications such as SSRIs have made major strides in how individuals cope and deal with mental health. Apart from services, there are also many ways you can help your own mental health by changing habits in your daily life. Exercising regularly can help combat mental health issues. Exercising can boost our mood, mind, and concentration. It also releases endorphins, which boost our happy chemicals in the brain. Another good habit is to get rid of your bad habits. Poor coping strategies can create a snowball effect where everything begins to pile up and you start to feel like everything is wrong with you. Of course, this isn't true, but it can be extremely debilitating when trying to live a regular and healthy life. That is why it's important to develop good coping strategies early on so you can use them when they're required. Diet is another huge factor, which many people don't even realize is affecting their mental health. The way we eat can affect how we feel and act in ways that we never realized. The gut microbiome directly correlates with brain health and mood. In the current year more than ever, it's the easiest to overconsume and eat unhealthy foods. They're convenient and are designed to make you want more. Because of this, we should educate ourselves and be conscious of what we're consuming to make sure it's in our best interest. It's also good to have a reliable group of friends or social circle who can not only be there to support you when you need it, but also be there to hold you accountable and keep you on the right track. The question still remains, has mental health gotten worse over time? But I believe there's multiple angles we can view this question from that don't give us a solid answer. Overall, mental health has come a long way, not only in scientific terms, but also in the public's perception of it. Counseling and medications have helped many tremendously and have made the fight against mental health in modern society much, much easier. When comparing this with the past, we can see an obvious difference in how mental health patients were treated and handled. Recent statistics make it seem like mental health is now becoming an issue. However, I believe it was always an issue, it's just now being documented. In the past, society was much less aware and educated on the issue, which may have altered statistics at the time, as people didn't believe in mental health, didn't want to admit that they had a mental health condition, or might not have even known that what they were going through was a mental illness. As a teenager myself, I'm grateful to live in a world that accepts mental health issues and acknowledges them and educates themselves about them. However, there is still much to be done with regards to mental health, both on an individual and systematic level. I hope to see progress in the future as we move closer to a society where mental health is normalized.